Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Nuzla Abdul Halim reporting again on the GBV cases. So as of today, we are going to be talking about the laws and some of the unattended cases in different countries. Now, since Kenya is my country, I'd like to speak more about Kenyan laws and some of the unattended cases. The Kenyan laws have several acts that help in addressing domestic violence. We have the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act, we've got the Sexual Offense Act, we've got the Penal Code, which is basically the general law, and we've got the Prohibition of FGM in Full Female Genital Mutilation Act as of 2011, and we've got the Children Act that prioritizes the welfare of the children across. The Protection Against Domestic Violence 2015 was enacted in order to protect the women, the children, or any other spouse or any other family member that faces the abuse. So this mainly was to address domestic violence, and it being the broadest since it explains domestic violence in different forms, as a physical abuse, as an emotional abuse, as a psychological abuse, also including FGM practices, including forced marriages, including child marriages. It being a broad thing, it has several penalties for it, with different specific years of imprisonment in case found in any type of the crime. So a victim who faces abuse is required to apply for protection orders to the court. So they come in different types. We've got the interim protection orders and we've got the final protection orders. On the interim protection orders, these are temporarily issued when one is seen in danger, whilst on the final protection orders, they are issued after a court hearing. So once an order is issued, the abuse must stay away from the victim. So it might come in several ways, where the abuser is required to stay away or move out, or is required to stop the violence, or is required to stop contacting the victim, so as to allow justice to happen in the right time possible. Moving forward to the Sexual Offense Act as of 2006, this was enacted to combat sexual violences and exploitations in Kenya. So basically, on the Sexual Offense Act, it criminalizes rape, defilement, sexual assault, attempted sexual offenses, incest, and sexual harassment. These crimes all have specific years of imprisonment or have specific penalties. So if we venture into rape, that is if it is without consent. And by the way, there is some consent that is not valid. Like when we talk of a spouse forcing their spouse into raping them, that consent is not valid, because as a man, as a masculine figure, you end up defeating a woman's energy. So that consent is not valid. And in case you're found with such a crime, you either have the two. It's either have a penalty of 10 years imprisonment or extend to a life imprisonment. With a sexual assault, it is similar to the penalty of the rape. Moving to the defilement cases, defilement only happens when a child under the ages of 18, under the ages of 18 is raped or is defiled by a man or a woman or any other gender. So the defilement penalties come into categories. So we've got the ones as from 0 to 11 years, we've got the ones from 12 to 15 years, and then we've got the ones as from 16 to 17 years. So with 0 to 11 years, the penalty is life imprisonment. No jokes, nothing else, no negotiation. As of the one from 12 to 15 years, their minimum years of imprisonment is 20 years. And as of the one ranging from 16 to 17, the minimum years is 17 years. Moving again to the attempted sexual offenses, like in case attempted murder, attempted rape, minimum years is 5 years. Incest, is up to life imprisonment, while sexual harassment is up to 3 years of imprisonment, or you might face a fine, or you might face both. Moving again to the penal code, which is basically the general law of Kenya. It is similar to almost everything that I have said. Again, moving to the Prohibition of FGM Act as of 2011, which prohibits any malpractice, any female genital mutilation practice, or any related practice to FGM. And again, the Children Act as of 2022, which prioritizes the children's welfare, mostly protects the rights, the welfare, and the safety of children under 18 years. It also, the Children Act also aligns with the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So, from these acts, it's just a brief overview of what these acts pertain and what they talk about and what they address mostly. Moving into some of the unattended cases, despite having these laws, we realize or we find out that most victims go unattended. So, for instance, when we look into Kajiado County, it is a case that happened in 2025, a Magadi rape case, where a 26-year-old woman was raped in Shampole by a man. This suspect, was arrested, okay, but he denied charges. And what happened to him? He was released on 500,000 Kenya shilling bond pending trial. The case is gone. Moving to Busia, I don't know what is happening to Busia, but cases are becoming rampant over there. Because previously we had a case where a 3-month-old girl was defiled by a woman. Okay, a woman. I think I emphasized on that in the previous video. But on this case, there was an 8-year-old girl who was raped repeatedly by a neighbor who she regarded as an uncle. This habit kept on going on until a neighbor ended up finding it suspicious and reporting the suspicious behavior. The perpetrator was convicted and he was sentenced to 25 years, then later reduced to 15 years on appeal. It is very unfortunate. What did we say on the on one of the acts over there? On the defilement case, on the Sexual Offense Act as of 2006. We said that any child under the ages of 11, whoever is going to be defiled, their penalty is life imprisonment. But what do we see here? What do we see here? We see a man being charged or being sentenced to 25 years, then later reduced to 15 years on appeal. Injustice. Again, we have a murder case that happened in Nanyuki. Agnes Wanjiru, who was murdered after being last seen with a foreign soldier. Until today, justice has been delayed. We know nothing about this case and everything is just moving on the way they are. So, these unattended cases, these are not the only few unattended cases. I'm sure there are more. These are just some of those which I have derived from the internet, from the courts, and there are more. I don't know how we are going to be doing this, but I am just hoping that every victim is accounted for. Every abuser faces their accountability, faces their charges for their own crimes. Everyone, I think every day I post my videos, I'll be concluding with my messages to all. Let us be careful. That is one very important thing. Because these cases are there. GBV is ongoing. Right now, as I sit down here, or as you do any activity of yours at home, I'm sure there's another girl or another boy being defiled by a pedophile or by a person of their own ages. We need to create more awareness. We need to make sure that all these cases are attended to. We need to make sure that after creating the awarenesses, the law forces actually take into consideration what we say and put a halt to every case that is ongoing. Remember, GBV is not only a malpractice or not only a burden inflicted on the victims, the abusers, the law forces, or the state. It is a burden inflicted on all, and if we want to put an end to it, we must act together. For sure, unity will fasten everything. Peace will only prevail if we allow it. Let us fight, everyone. Let us put pressure on the law forces so that they can attend to every victim outside there. Again, I'd love to talk about a coalition that is currently happening between amongst the AU countries. Yesterday, I had posted a video, and one of our friends reached out in the comment section explaining what the coalition is about. So this is an African feminist coalition, and it focuses on advocating for the gender-based violences that are happening across the African states. So I hope that every one of you will follow up on this coalition, support them, and ensure that we keep on creating awareness on these GBV cases. Anyways, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for staying with me until right now. Kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share this YouTube video for more. Thank you so much.